Me, 40F, and my husband, 41M, together 6 years. He snooped on my phone and found something I did 16 years ago. Why is he so mad? LL, get straight into it. For some reason recently, he started to think I'm messaging and meeting other men. I'm not. I've never messaged anyone since the day of our first date, and I've certainly not met anyone. I don't know where this has come from. We have each other's passcodes for our phones, but I've never once felt the need to look at his, and I don't mind him using mine, but reading my messages I do mind, as I don't think it's fair on the people I'm talking to. On to what happened. I went to the shops the other day, and I left my phone at home. When I got back, my husband got in my face and called me a slag and a tramp and all sorts of other nasty names. He went through my Facebook messages and found a message from 16 years ago. At the time, I was so poor, having just lost my job and having bills to pay. I applied for hundreds of jobs and needed my car to get to interviews. It broke down. Not terribly, but it needed a new alternator. I messaged a couple of friends who were mechanics and both wanted over 100 pounds, which was a good quote, but I just couldn't afford it. I offered one of them I'd send him a couple of nudes for now and pay him when I got a job. He agreed, and within a day I was back on the road. Once I had a job, I offered to pay him, and everything was fine. The mechanic is sadly dead now, so my husband has nothing to be wary of. After he had finished ranting and raving at me, I told him I'll never forgive him for looking through my phone and invading my privacy. I asked if he'd found anything else, and he said no. I said, see, how many times do I have to tell you? In fact, I'm done telling you. I picked a few things and I left for my sister's, where I still am now. Is what I did 10 years before I met him really that bad? I'm starting to think he's projecting with all these accusations constantly, and now I'm starting to doubt him. Once trust has been broken like this, can it be repaired? TLDR. Husband found out I send nudes in lieu of payment for work on my car before I met him and is angry at me. OP's comments. Commenter. Downvoted. Why do you have stuff on your phone from years before you met him if you've been married to this man for 6 years? That screams off. OP. I've still got Facebook messages dating back to 2007. Why would I delete them? Commenter. I'd be more upset with the name calling than the snooping, but I'd also be questioning his sanity for flipping out about something from 16 years ago when you didn't even know him. Face with tears of joy. Fucking bats hit. He's probably cheating on you, dude. OP. I was upset about it all, to be honest. I've said a few times, is he projecting? Commenter. I think the real question is, why is he so sure you are cheating when you have done absolutely nothing wrong? This screams projection, and he is probably doing something behind your back. OP. That's what I think too. Commenter. If he wasn't dead, would your husband have something to worry about? If you really aren't cheating, then more than likely, he's projecting from his own guilt. OP. No, he wouldn't have anything to worry about. I just meant it makes even less sense why he is so mad. Commenter. You were right to leave. He was way out of line. It would take wild horses to drag me back. At least until the anger dissipates. Even then. OP. I don't think I can take him back. I'm too angry at his actions. Update post 1. Backstory. For months, my husband has been suspicious for months that I'm cheating, even though I've never even messaged another man since before our first date. He snooped on my phone and found a message from 16 years ago, so 10 years before we got together, where I was short of money, so sent a mechanic some nudes in lieu of payment for supplying and fitting an alternator. He called me all sort of names, and I got mad back and said I'll never trust him, and I think he's projecting. On to the update, and like many of you suggested, he was projecting, and he's the one who's cheating. I left for my sister's for a few days when I wrote that post. Driving past a premiere near her house and saw his car outside. Waited by it for 3 hours, where he eventually emerged with another woman. He said it was the first time and he thought we'd split up. She said to him, "What are you talking about, and who is this?" Referring to me. He literally ran off like a coward. I spoke to this woman who turned out to be lovely, and she said they'd been seeing each other for over a year, but he told her he was living with his religious parents after leaving his wife, so that's why they can never go back to his and got hotels. She was such a lovely young woman, and I ended up having to console her and took her home myself. As for us, I'm back at home, and he is now back at his parents, who were very disappointed in him when they heard the news and have been lovely to me. I've started divorce proceedings, but that'll be about a year away, I'd imagine. TLDR. He was projecting, and he was the one who's cheating. Some of OP's comments. Commenter. That was very nice of you to console her. Please be sure to tend to your own emotions as well. Gotta look out for number 1. OP. To be honest, I was already 80% certain I was going to divorce him after the name calling and snooping, so this didn't devastate me as much as it would normally would. Commenter. Wow, that's one hell of an update. Take no prisoners, girl. Ask his lover to testify in your divorce proceedings on your behalf. OP. We won't need to go to court, hopefully, if he just accepts the divorce. Commenter. Incredible that he told her he was staying with his parents, and now he is. OP. Yep, it's like he willed it into happening lol. Commenter. Downvoted things that didn't happen for $500 Alex. He just happened to be at the inn right by where your sister lived? Or did you have his location? OP. Not right by, maybe 2 miles away. Editor's note. I know people do make things up on Reddit, but I once ran into someone I knew in a completely different state that I had never been to. Neither of us knew the other was there at the time, and we're just visiting. Weird things do happen in real life. And this happening in, possibly, a smaller town? Easily believable MO. Commenter. I really hope his mother and father know that he abandoned the girl he conned into a relationship at the motel, and that you were kind enough to take her home. What a man. OP. I told him he abandoned a 23-year-old 30 miles from her home. Update post 2. Well, if you thought the first update was a roller coaster, buckle up, because things have escalated in the most outrageous way. Divorce proceedings are underway, but my soon-to-be ex-husband, I'll call him Ryan for simplicity, decided to take his absurdity to new heights. Spoiler. He's not handling this well. A few days after my last post, Ryan started bombarding me with texts. First, it was the usual manipulative nonsense. I made a mistake. You're my everything. Let's fix this. When I ignored him, it turned into guilt tripping. You're throwing away 6 years over one stupid mistake. Are you really so perfect? Then, it got weird. One morning, I woke up to find my driveway full of random items. Flowers, my favorite snacks, a stuffed animal he'd won me at a carnival years ago, and wait for it.an envelope with 500 pounds in cash. Just sitting there, like he was paying me off or trying to buy my love back. My sister joked it was hush money for his dignity, but I didn't touch it. I snapped a picture, sent it to my lawyer, and called his parents to come collect his gifts. Later that day, his mom came over. She's been a saint through this, and apologized for his antics. She said he's been staying in their guest room, pacing around, muttering about how I'm ruining his life. She also told me he'd been crying in their kitchen the night before, yelling at her for not taking his side. His dad told him to grow up, love them. But the real kicker? The other woman, we'll call her Sarah, reached out to me again. Apparently, Ryan told her I was emotionally abusive, and that's why he cheated. Luckily, she saw through his lies, especially after I showed her the texts he'd been sending me. Sarah then dropped a bombshell. Ryan had asked her to move in with him at his parents' house. His parents' house. The audacity. She declined, obviously. It gets better. A mutual friend of ours told me Ryan's been dating apps. Yes, already. His bio? Recently separated, looking for someone who understands me. Understands him? Like how to forgive someone for cheating and snooping. Laughable. As for me, I've started to feel oddly free. Don't get me wrong, this whole situation is stressful, but there's something liberating about shedding a man who called me names over something I did before we even met. I've been spending time with friends, taking long walks with my sister's dog, and even considering trying yoga. Don't laugh, I am desperate for stress relief. But here's where I'll leave things on a cliffhanger. This morning, I got a letter in the mail from Ryan's lawyer. Something about contesting the divorce terms. I haven't opened it yet because honestly, I don't want to ruin my mood. But knowing Ryan, it's bound to be ridiculous. TLDR, Ryan's spiraling, left 500 pounds on my driveway, tried to get Sarah to move in with him at his parents' house, and is apparently contesting the divorce. Stay tuned. Update post 3. Well, folks, I finally opened the letter. And let me tell you, it was even more absurd than I imagined. Ryan's contest isn't about the divorce itself. No. He's demanding compensation for emotional distress because, and I quote, her past behavior caused irreparable harm to the marriage. That's right. He's trying to make me the villain for sending nudes to a mechanic over a decade before we even met. His lawyer threw in a few other nuggets of nonsense, like how I misrepresented myself by not disclosing this ancient, irrelevant bit of history when we started dating. As if, hey, just FYI, I once sent topless pics to get my car fixed, is a normal first date conversation topic. My lawyer is handling it, of course, and she's already laughing this off as a desperate attempt to stall the divorce. But the audacity? The audacity. Meanwhile, Ryan is clearly losing it. Remember how I mentioned he was on dating apps? Well, one of my friends decided to swipe right just to see what he'd say. Yes, a little petty, but we're here for the tea. His opening line? Hey, I'm in a bit of a messy situation, but I have a big heart and I'm looking for someone to share it with. Barf. Apparently, he then launched into a whole sob story about how his wife, me, was emotionally unavailable and that he's trying to heal. My friend ghosted him immediately after confirming he's still every bit the delusional narcissist we suspected. Oh, and Sarah, the other woman, called me again. She wanted to let me know Ryan had been blowing up her phone, begging for another chance. He sent her a playlist on Spotify titled Us, which included Wait for It - Fix You by Coldplay and Back to December by Taylor Swift. She's blocking him now. The real twist, though? Ryan showed up unannounced at my house yesterday. His parents had apparently kicked him out because he wouldn't stop yelling about how they were siding with the enemy. Me, obviously. So he decided the next logical step was to come to my place, pound on the door, and demand we talk like adults. I didn't open the door. I stood behind it and said, "Leave before I call the police." His response? "You can't just erase 6 years like this." I told him, "Watch me." He left, but not before leaving a handwritten note on my porch. I read it later, and it's basically a whiny manifesto about how he's learned from his mistakes and that everyone deserves a second chance. He also included a poem. A poem. I won't subject you to the whole thing, but one line read, "Your laughter was my sunrise, now I'm lost in the night." Nauseated face. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'm holding firm on the divorce. My lawyer is dealing with his ridiculous claims, and I'm considering getting a Ring camera because his unhinged behavior is escalating. But here's the kicker. This afternoon, his mom texted me. She said Ryan showed up at their house again, demanding to be let back in. When his dad told him no, Ryan apparently yelled, "If I can't stay here, I'll just sleep in my car." His dad's response? "Good. You've got a car. Use it. I'll update again if he pulls any more stunts, but honestly, I'm starting to feel like I'm living in a Lifetime movie." Update post 4. Alright, y'all, grab your popcorn because Ryan's chaos has officially hit a new level. I swear, I couldn't make this stuff up if I tried. So, remember how I mentioned that Ryan's parents kicked him out and told him to sleep in his car? Turns out, he actually did. Not just for one night. Either he's apparently been living in his car for almost a week. How do I know? Because he's been parking on my street like some kind of deranged soap opera stalker. At first, I thought I was imagining things. My sister noticed the car when she came over one evening and joked, "Ryan's taking this homeless romantic act way too far." But the next morning, his car was still there. And the morning after that, I wasn't about to go outside and confront him, so I called his mom. Her reaction? She sighed and said, "We told him he could stay in the garage if he wanted. We even cleared out space for him. He said it was degrading. He's doing this to prove a point." What point, you ask? That he's the ultimate martyr in this situation, I guess. Fast forward to yesterday. I came home from running errands to find Ryan sitting on the curb outside my house. He wasn't yelling or banging on the door this time, just sitting there, looking pathetic with his head in his hands. I ignored him, parked my car, and went inside. 5 minutes later, he started texting me, "Can we please talk? Just 5 minutes. I miss you. I need you. I'm begging you. Please." I didn't respond, so he upped the ante. His next message? "I'll tell the whole neighborhood about what you did to fix your car if you don't come outside." Yes, folks, he was trying to blackmail me with my own 16-year-old secret about nudes, sent to a now-dead mechanic for car repairs. My response? Go ahead. Maybe someone will offer to pay you to leave. Apparently, that wasn't the reaction he was hoping for because about an hour later, he finally drove off. Or so I thought. Around midnight, I heard a weird noise outside my bedroom window like a tapping or scraping sound. My heart dropped because at this point, I wouldn't put anything past him. I grabbed my phone, peeked through the blinds, and there he was trying to tape another note to my window with a piece of duct tape. I didn't even bother opening the window. I just yelled, "Ryan, I'm calling the cops." He froze like a deer in headlights, dropped the note, and sprinted back to his car. By the time I actually called 911, he was gone. The operator was super nice, but said there wasn't much they could do unless he came back. This morning, I went outside and picked up the note. And OMG, it's peak Ryan insanity. It was written in Sharpie on the back of an old receipt. It said, "I know I've hurt you, but can't you see we're meant to be? Please give me one more chance. If you don't, I'll have no choice but to take drastic measures. Love always, Ryan." Drastic measures? Is this man threatening me or himself? I sent a picture of the note to my lawyer, and she advised me to file a restraining order. So that's next on my to-do list. And if you're wondering, yes, he's still trying to recruit people to his pity party. He's been texting mutual friends about how heartless I am for ignoring him. One friend told him, "Dude, you're living in your car and writing creepy notes. That's on you." Another friend blocked him after he tried to guilt them into giving him a place to crash. Meanwhile, I've been talking to Sarah, the other woman, again, and we're actually becoming friends. Turns out, She's in therapy now to process everything Ryan put her through. She also told me that Ryan once tried to write her a song but gave up halfway through because lyrics are hard. I can't. So yeah, the restraining order is happening. My lawyer is also adding Ryan's recent antics to the divorce proceedings as further proof of his instability. I'm officially in protect my peace mode, and honestly, it feels amazing. Final update, alright, Reddit, this is, hopefully, the last time I'll need to write about Ryan. Buckle up for the grand finale because, true to form, he went out with a bang, though not the kind he was hoping for. Let's start where we left off, the restraining order. I filed it first thing Monday morning. The clerk at the courthouse didn't even blink when I explained why I needed it. I guess they've seen it all. My lawyer also sent Ryan an official letter warning him that any further contact, direct or indirect, would result in legal action. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. That night, I was woken up at 2 a.m. by flashing lights outside my house. I looked out the window and saw Ryan's car surrounded by cops. Apparently, my neighbor had seen him sitting there, muttering to himself, and called 911 because he looked suspicious. When the cops showed up, Ryan tried to argue that he had a right to be there because he used to live here. The cops weren't having it. They told him about the restraining order, gave him a verbal warning, and told him to leave immediately or face arrest. He finally drove off, but not before yelling, "You'll regret this," out the window. Dramatic much? The next morning, I got a call from his mom. She apologized for the 100th time and said Ryan was officially not welcome at their house anymore. Apparently, he'd shown up there after the police encounter and started ranting about how I was ruining his life. His dad, absolute legend, told him, "Your life was already ruined when you decided to cheat." Ouch. Then came the climax of this saga. 2 days ago, Ryan actually got arrested. Why? Because he tried to break into my house. Yep, you read that right. I wasn't even home. I was out having dinner with my sister. When I got back, I found my front door cracked open and the sound of voices coming from inside. I immediately backed away and called the cops. By the time they arrived, Ryan was sitting in my living room, drinking one of my sodas like he still lived here. When the cops confronted him, he had the audacity to say, "This is my house. I forgot my key." They didn't buy it, obviously, and he got cuffed on the spot. Now here's the kicker. As they were taking him out, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You'll miss me when I'm gone." I didn't respond. I just shut the door and locked it. So now Ryan's facing charges for trespassing and violating the restraining order. My lawyer says this will all but guarantee a clean divorce because the judge will see his behavior as a major red flag. I don't even care about the money or assets at this point. I just want him gone. As for me, I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. My sister and I spent the whole day yesterday reorganizing my house, turning it back into a space that feels like mine. I've blocked Ryan on everything, and his parents have assured me they'll handle his antics from now on. Oh, and Sarah? She and I are officially friends now. She even joked that we should throw a party once the divorce is finalized, complete with a piñata shaped like Ryan's car. To everyone who followed this saga, thank you for your support. This has been the most ridiculous, exhausting chapter of my life, but I'm finally closing the book. And as for Ryan, well, I'm sure he'll continue his melodramatic escapades elsewhere, but that's no longer my problem.